Hello YouTube. This is Richard, founder of ShortTermRentalSecrets.com and also Airbnb Superhost. One of the questions that I'm asked constantly is, there are 3 different cancellation policies on Airbnb. Which one is right for me as a host? And I'm going to give you a framework and a methodology to think about it so that you can make that decision for yourself. I'm also going to suggest to you that probably this doesn't matter at some point in the future, maybe as early as 12 months from now, but stay tuned and I'll tell you about that towards the end of this video. With that said, let's get started. The first one is called flexible, and that basically gives the guest all of their money back if they cancel up to 1 day before the trip. So in other words, if you have somebody checking in on Saturday, as long as they cancel, say, Thursday, or depending on what time on Friday, they're going to get all of their money back. That's very guest friendly and probably will increase your bookings because people that are traveling a lot love that flexibility. But if you really rely on that income and you need that money to make rent or mortgage or car payments or whatever you use the income for, this may not work because you'll probably find more cancellations than you anticipated. Not necessarily a lot more, but that flexibility comes in frequently. I've had people cancel on me and I use a much stricter policy, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the second option that Airbnb has is called moderate, and it's exactly that. It's between flexible and strict. And basically what it means is that the guest has up to 5 days prior to the trip to cancel to get 100% of a refund. If they do that, you get 0 and they get 100% of their money back. If they cancel within that 5-day period, they get 50% and you keep 50%. So let's just talk about what that means. If the check-in is on a Friday, they have 5 days. When you look at a calendar, that would be on a Sunday. If they cancel Sunday or before, they get 100% of their money back. Now, you need to understand from your perspective how much people book, sort of last minute within that 5-day period. If you're in a really popular place and you've got great reviews and you often book within 5 days, this might be a really good option because now you get 50% of the cancellation plus the likelihood of rebooking. If you're in a more remote area or you only book 30 days out in advance, this is probably not a great option because now instead of getting 100% using a different policy that we'll talk about next, strict, you're only going to get 50%. Also, when somebody gets a refund, you don't include the cleaning costs because there's been no cleaning. So the question to ask yourself is, how frequently do I book my own property? In what time period? And how much do I need the income? If you need the income to make your mortgage payment or your car payment or pay back student loans, this flexibility, while it's great for the guest, may not work for you. And I don't think you're going to see that many additional bookings in the moderate. I do think you'll see it in the flexible, but not so much in the moderate. That said, it's clearly an option and probably tens of thousands of users use the moderate. So while I personally don't see value, there must be some. If you use it and you like it and you recommend it, please go ahead and leave comments on this video so that we all learn from you. The third policy is called strict, and it's just that. This is the one that I happen to use, and I'll explain to you why. But first, the terms. So a guest has up to 7 days in advance to get 50% of their money back. So instead of 5 days in the moderate, it's now pushed to a full week. If they cancel a week in advance, they get 50%. If they cancel within that 7 days, they get 0. Now, the reason that I use it and the reason that I recommend it is, unlike a hotel, I only have one property and I need the income for making mortgage payments and the like. And so if somebody cancels, I don't know with certainty that I'm going to be able to rebook that, yet I do know with certainty that I need the money. So for me, I would rather have people that are like-minded and are certain that they're coming and they've selected my place for the right reasons, and then they're coming. I've had so few cancellations 7 days prior, I can't even think of any. Actually, that's not true. I had one, but one out of hundreds. But believe it or not, I've had many people cancel either within that 7-day period or even after they've checked in, and I've made other videos about that too. And in that particular case, it's super friendly and helpful to me as the host that I've got the terms and the policies on my side. And at that point, I can decide whether I want to refund something back to the guest or not based on their circumstances or whatever. But the decision is entirely in my court, and Airbnb is on my side. So I hinted at this in the beginning of the video, and here's my prognostication of what I think is going to happen going forward. It's evident to me that the biggest bottleneck and the greatest frustration from a booking perspective is that a guest looking to book a trip somewhere, let's just say Florida, is going to compete on Expedia with Marriott and Hilton and so on, and they're going to start to see homes. They're already seeing them on certain platforms, and Expedia just bought VRBO and HomeAway, and so it's really hard to compete with instant availability and total flexibility in the cancellation with wait 2-3 days for a host to get back to you, super strict cancellation policy. It just is an impediment to actually completing the transaction. So my gut tells me it's going to move much more guest friendly over time. But there's a couple of considerations. One, Airbnb and VRBO have the ability to influence you and how you behave as a host. Like they can charge fees or greater fees. I think there's an experiment happening right now in Italy so that if you're flexible, the amount of hosting fees that you pay as a host is less. If you're in the moderate, it's a little bit more. And if you're in the strict, they'll let you play that game, but they're going to charge you much more. My gut tells me they're probably going to roll this thing out everywhere and try and force your hand into a more flexible position, which is more guest friendly and more Airbnb friendly because they get more bookings. Now, that's the concept, but here's what you need to understand from your perspective and the money in your pocket, which is really all I care about, right? When you're the Marriott Hotel and you have 273 rooms, 1 or 2 last-minute cancellations don't really affect your revenue, your quarter. You know, you've already got the building there and it's okay. You're not going to get 273 cancellations. You might get 1 or 2, and it's a rounding error, and it's built into your revenue model. That's very different from you as a host and a homeowner. You have 1 property, or maybe 2. So the difference between a last-minute cancellation and having 100% vacancy versus a strict policy and having 0 vacancy, it's binary. It's 0 or 1. And that money, if you need it for your mortgage or your education or whatever you're using it for, you can't have that variability between 0 and 1. So I personally think that it's worth whatever fees if you need the income to go towards a strict policy if we move that way. They're just experimenting with it, but it's really clear the direction that everything is going is towards guest friendly in terms of instant booking and flexible cancellation policies. If you think this is different, please comment. If you have a difference of opinion about how you use it or how you see the world, please share it with us so we can all benefit. And in the meantime, I'm going to sign off and thank you for your time and interest. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We've got tons more content coming your way with the explicit goal of just putting more revenue in your pocket and happy hosting. Thanks so very much. Have a great day.